7 sinister neighbor encounters. Unexplained horrors that haunted my nights and grew closer daily. In the dead of night, the soft whispers crawled through the thin walls of Maplewood Estates, bringing with them an unsettling dread. Sarah, a single mother of 2, found herself haunted. It started with Emily's giggles turning into muffled laughter, abruptly silenced when Sarah entered the room, as if the very children she cherished were hiding secrets that twisted her heart into knots. The once vibrant neighborhood sat eerily quiet, the shadows of her past intertwining with the foreboding present. Waking up in cold sweats, Sarah often brushed it off. A mother's intuition, she thought, was just a part of the single-parent package. But something was off. Something dark was lurking behind the smiles of familiar faces. Every night, she felt like the eyes of her neighbors bored into her from their corners. It was unsettling. It was suffocating. Then the sounds grew worse, skittering outside her window, haunting whispers weaving through the darkness, a chilling echo of laughter mingled with despair. More than once, she dreaded those late-night drives for groceries, the glowing streetlights casting twisted shadows that seemed alive, slithering through the asphalt like sinister beings. Just when Sarah thought it couldn't get any worse, she stumbled across the news report. Disappearances, increasing by the week, all linked to Mr. Thompson, the neighborhood's beacon of charm and warmth. He organized barbecues and looked after everyone's kids. But every smile hid a deception. Why did he know too much about everyone's lives? It made her skin crawl. Dismissing her instincts, she thought maybe she was just being paranoid, a typical worried mother. But there was an itch at the back of her mind that wouldn't fade. Sarah's world turned even darker days later when she started noticing odd things around the house. Toys shivered silently in corners, her children waking up with unexplained scratches that marred their delicate skin. Shadows flickered just out of sight. The fear crept under her skin like a poison. The dread was palpable, almost alive. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then the nightmare reached a crescendo. One night, as the air thickened with mounting tension and despair, Sarah woke to find her children were gone, vanished from their beds without a single trace. Panic clawed at her throat, choking her as dread coursed through her veins. Desperately, she ran through the empty streets, every door closing behind her like the unforgiving jaws of a beast. The neighborhood she knew so well became an unfathomable labyrinth of deceit. The porch lights flickered, a mocking glow illuminating her frantic search. Maplewood Estates held secrets buried beneath its painted smiles, beneath the ground where children played. Clutching the camera she had set up to capture the oddities, she pushed forward, knowing that the monsters hiding behind friendly faces were no longer just figments of her imagination. They were real. As she turned, a voice slithered through the night. You shouldn't have been snooping around, Sarah." The chilling sound wrapped around her like a vice, leaving her paralyzed in the damp, dark street, the cold sweat trickling down her spine. What she feared the most was now upon her, and it was only just beginning. The air turned heavy with a stench of decay, clinging to Sarah's skin as the voice echoed in her ears. She stood frozen, dread pooling in her gut. Shadows loomed and twisted around her like tendrils of smoke, whispering secrets meant for her ears only. What do you want?" she stammered, forcing her trembling limbs to move. "Your little ones, they were never lost," the voice hissed, sending a shiver down her spine. It was Mr. Thompson's voice, smooth and sinister, yet dripping with a confidence that chilled her to the bone. She turned her head, desperately seeking the source, but only darkness greeted her. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a grotesque version of the neighbor she once knew. His smile was too wide, too hungry. "You should be careful, Sarah." He took a step closer, and the beam of a nearby streetlight caught his eyes, glimmering like two voids, pulling in light and hope. It was as if the darkness had found a shape, and that shape was him. Her heart raced unbearably, each tremor matching the pounding in her ears. There was no time to think. just to act. She darted down the street, certain that the walls of Maplewood Estates were closing in, squeezing her with every step. As she ran, the whispers escalated. A cacophony of laughter and deceit surrounded her. "Join us, Sarah, join us," breathless. She pulled at her phone, fingers shaking as she tried to call for help. But the screen remained unfocused, reflecting the chaos inside her mind. The camera she had used felt like a mere toy now, distant yet haunting. The whispers grew closer, and she realized these were not the voices of strangers. They were familiar. She dashed for the park where they once played. The swings creaked mournfully, a reminder of innocence staining the air. They had vanished, but she could still feel their presence, a ghostly echo leaving her heart heavy with fear. "Emily, Jake!" she screamed, the sound ripping from her throat, mixing with the desperate winds around her. Just then, the laughter returned. Dark, echoing from nowhere and everywhere. It enveloped her, pulling her back. "It's too late. The others have already joined us." A laugh, guttural and grotesque, surged through her. She stumbled, her vision wavering as she turned on the spot, searching desperately for clarity, for her children. Then, just out of her line of sight, emerged a group of children, their faces obscured. They were moving in a strange, rhythmic dance, bobbing and swaying as if possessed. A sickly sweet fragrance filled the air, wrapping around Sarah, dragging her down. They were giggling, their once joyful laughter now twisting into something monstrous. "Mommy!" One tiny voice broke through the eerie chorus. It was Emily's voice, but colder, laced with a darkness that made Sarah's skin crawl. The children began to approach, with empty grins masking their intentions. "No, get away!" Sarah screamed, backing away, her heart pounding harder than ever. Yet with every step, the grip of something invisible tightened around her. "What if we don't want to leave?" Emily's voice chimed, sending complications of dread crashing into Sarah's bones. She took a deeper breath, digging deep for courage, but fear was a heavy weight pressing against her chest. "No, you're not my children," she gasped, stepping backward again, looking past them into the shadows stirred by unfathomable terror. "You don't belong here." Suddenly, a figure loomed behind the children. It was Mr. Thompson, his grin stretching impossibly wide. "They belong to me now." In that moment, Sarah felt something tear within her. The reality around them pulsated with malevolence, time stretching like a taut wire about to snap. How could she save them? Was it possible? But before answers could materialize, realization dawned. She wasn't just running from him, she was running toward him. And he wasn't alone. Sarah stood frozen, horror gripping her heart, as the shadows began to shift and swirl around her. What hope did she have against the darkness that sought to consume everything she loved? Flee or face the truth? "Sarah," the voice whispered, trailing off into sinister laughter as darkness closed in around her. The last flicker of light flickered like her heart. The choice was now hers alone, but what would she choose? Her breath came in choppy gasps, panic swelling in her chest. The shadows writhed, flickers of dark laughter echoing in her mind, a sickening sound drawing closer. Sarah's heart fought against her ribcage as she backed away from the twisted reflection of Mr. Thompson, realizing the truth that bruised her soul. Her children were gone. "No, I refuse," she shouted, determination igniting like a match in her despair. She turned on her heel, sprinting away from the dance of phantoms, the laughter swelling behind her like a tidal wave. With every footfall, she could feel the whispers clawing into her resolve, drawing on the memories of her children that had once been filled with joy and laughter. "Flee, or face the truth," the sinister voice echoed around her, teasing and tantalizing. Sarah ran faster, her feet a blur against the cracked pavement, the familiar landscape now twisted into a nightmare. Laughter taunted her from beyond the veil built by the shadows, their soft tones now sharp and jagged. "Emily! Jake!" she cried again, her voice cracking with desperation. The emptiness of Maplewood Estates surrounded her, the street lamps flickering like dying stars. Rushing past the old oak tree, she could still see where they'd carved their initials into the bark, a memory suddenly shattered by the realization that those moments might never return. But she wouldn't stop running. She would find them. As she turned a corner, she stumbled into the abandoned playground, a place that was supposed to be filled with joy. The swings creaked eerily in the stillness. A mournful sound seeped in sorrow. A chill grazed her neck, and she turned quickly, half expecting to find her children waiting for her. Instead, darkness hovered nearby, anticipation pulsing in the air. The laughter rose again, echoing as it twisted into a sinister chorus. "We're waiting for you, Mommy." They echoed her past words, making her stomach churn. She squinted into the thickening shadows, fear consuming her as the figures of the children began to materialize from the gloom. "Mommy, play with us," they sang, their faces still obscured, their childish voices now layered with something foul and unnatural. The innocent glint in their eyes was gone, replaced by emptiness, a chilling void that sucked the warmth and light from the night. "Please stop," she sobbed, shaking her head violently. "You're not my kids." But the children merely tilted their heads in unison, grins stretching wider than their faces. It was as if they were mocking her, relishing her torment. "But we want you to join us. Forever." A wave of nausea rolled through her as the shadows surged forward, hungry for her essence, their laughter melding into an unholy cacophony. In that moment, a thought crystallized. She had to confront them, to fight against this twisted reality, to reclaim her children from whatever darkness had claimed their souls. She drew in a shaky breath and clenched her fists, feeling something shift within her, a flicker of defiance kindling amidst despair. "Stay back," she cried, her voice breaking but firm. But as the children swayed and danced closer, it became abundantly clear that retreating wasn't an option, and the truth was becoming more sinister by the second. The world around her began to warp, spiraling into darkness as reality felt like quicksand slipping through her fingers. "Sarah, help us." The voice broke through, layered with panic. Emily's voice. It pierced the sinister veil, igniting a surge of responsive anguish within Sarah. Her heart raced, determination fighting against the swell of despair. In the heart of this cacophony and darkness, she felt the deepest fear. What if she could not bring them back? What if the children she faced were merely hollow shells, devoid of the love she knew? In the midst of chaos, she stood resolute, but as the shadows clung tighter, a malignant laughter rang out, sharp and frighteningly close. "Join us, Sarah." Would she succumb to the lure of an imagined reunion, or shatter the chains binding her? The choice lay before her, tangled in darkness, and the decision could cost everything. The laughter washed over Sarah, a chilling tide of sound that seemed to press against her skin, forcing her into the suffocating darkness of the playground. Her breath quickened. The moonlight struggled to penetrate the black mass before her, casting twisted shadows that danced and twisted like phantoms in a macabre ballet. "Don't you want to play?" The echoed voices seeped into her mind, infecting her thoughts. She backed away, her eyes darting around, searching for an escape. Each step felt heavier, the ground swallowing her resolve. "Mommy," the urgent plea resonated in her ears. Emily's voice, sweet yet strained, reverberated through the silence. She grasped at the memory, the warmth and laughter it once held. But there was a new urgency beneath the surface, a metallic scent of fear that tainted it all. "Stay back," Sarah yelled once more, her voice trembling as she tried to anchor herself to the last vestiges of hope. "You're not real." She could feel the dread crawling across her skin, a disobedient wave of terror that threatened to engulf her. The children's laughter morphed into gasps, suddenly still. "Not real? But we are. This is our place, our game forever." Their tiny voices held a note of cruel delight, underscoring the horror seeping into every pore of her being. The laughter faded, replaced by an unbearable silence that felt thick and oppressive. The shadows flickered, and then all at once, the children's figures collapsed into one another. A ghastly shape twisted in the void, something both familiar and foreign. Sarah squinted, her heart pounding. The forms began to solidify, growing larger, their faces morphing into something that made her stomach churn. Desperate, she turned and ran towards the darkened path leading out of the playground. But the world around her shifted, the familiar now a distorted maze that morphed at every corner. She stumbled and fell, her palms scraping against the rough pavement, pain exploding in her hands as she pushed herself back up. "Sarah." The voice swept through the air with an eerie calm. "You can't escape us." And then she saw it. Mr. Thompson, standing under the flickering streetlight. His eyes glinted with a wicked light, penetrating and unyielding. You need to join us. Accept what they've become. No, she screamed, backing away, heart racing like a caged bird. Fleeing from the truth, one T save you. He lifted a hand, and the shadows pooled at his feet, swirling like smoke. Join us, Sarah, be with your children. You'll never be alone again. But the image of her children, taken and twisted by the darkness, fueled her anger. I want to let you have me. Sarah's voice rang with defiance. Though her stomach churned with fear, the shadows surged forward, clawing closer, the air thickening with their presence. She could feel them, cold and hungry, every heartbeat echoing the sinister overture of their laughter, the chorus relentless in pushing her back. Mommy! Emily's voice broke through again, panic laced within it, clawing at Sarah's heart. With every ounce of courage, she turned to face the whirl of darkness. I am their mother. I refuse to let you take what is mine. Suddenly, the shadows froze, fizzled into stillness. A thick blanket of silence fell, and she felt the air change. The laughter dulled, a warning ringing in her ears. It was then that she could see them before her once more. The children, detached from the shadows, but with the same haunting smiles. Mommy, it's time. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and the visions of the playground began to flicker, the slide twisting into a grim specter of itself, the swings creaking with an old, painful memory. Can you hear them? The voice chained her thoughts. Can you stand to see the truth? The silhouettes drew closer, and Sarah felt a chill that reverberated through her core. She was on the brink of something vast and terrifying, standing at the edge of fate, the choice as real as the night that surrounded her, so close, but what lay behind that choice? Could she truly face the truth, and would it cost her soul? As the shadows encircled her, she realized this was only the beginning. A shudder rippled through Sarah as the children's eyes glimmered like shards of broken glass, reflecting the crashing waves of shadows swirling around them. She could no longer tell where the darkness ended and the children began. They moved closer, their delicate features twisting into bemused mockery, familiar yet utterly alien. Mommy, where have you been? Emily's voice pierced through the tension, soft and sweet, yet wrapped tightly with an undercurrent of desperation. It's time to play. The word hung in the air, sickly sweet. In that moment, Sarah felt bile rise in her throat. You don't want to play. You want to join us. The chorus of voices chimed, their pitch rising and falling in disconcerting harmony. Accept us. We just want to be together. The memories of bouncing laughter echoed along the streets, warming her heart one moment, then fracturing it the next. She had to resist. She couldn't let their innocent appearance deceive her. No. The word erupted from her throat as she stumbled backward, the laughter becoming a haunting melody that clawed at her sanity. The shadows pulsed, alive with a consciousness of their own, every flicker and twist winking like malevolent stars. Mr. Thompson, she shouted, clenching her fists. You did this. You brought this evil into our lives. I want to be part of your sick game. The man's laughter erupted, filling the air with a sound that rattled her very bones. 6 steps, and he was gone, replaced by a deepening darkness. You think you can fight this? His voice slithered through the shadows. Your heart belongs to the darkness now. With a rush of instinct, Sarah turned and ran, breath harsh and ragged, her feet pounding against the pavement, seeking refuge. She could feel the presence of something looming just behind her, the whispers melding with her racing thoughts like a sinister song of promises and threats. Suddenly, she reached the tunnel leading out of the playground, the passage dark and foreboding. Taking a deep breath, she plunged inside. The air was dank and cold, wrapping around her like icy tendrils determined to pull her back into the darkness she fled. She stumbled forward, guided only by the faint glimmer of light ahead. Yet, the walls began to narrow as she pressed on, the shadows creeping in, the ground slick underfoot and utterly unforgiving. The laughter faded to whispers as she continued into the light, the sound of her heart racing pounding powerfully in her ears. Mommy, came a soft call ahead, striking her heart with urgency. Emily, she shouted, picking up speed, desperation clawing at her throat. The gleam at the end of the tunnel grew brighter. Was it freedom? Was it safety? Or was it a trap? As she reached the opening, she stumbled out into the fresh night air, gulping greedily, only to find herself back at the playground twisted and dark, as if it had never shifted at all. The laughter returned, sharp and mocking, reverberating against the eerie silence of the world around her. But it was different now. Standing in front of her was Emily, her face impossibly pale, eyes hollow, as shadows danced around her like a cloak. "You left me, Mommy," her voice echoed, a haunting remnant of the child Sarah once knew. "You have to play with us. We all want to be together." Farther back, the other children grinned, tiny hands welcome but coated in darkness. A scream caught in Sarah's throat, a desperate plea for salvation. "No, I want tea." As the shadows leapt toward her, a terrifying realization gripped her. She had thought the nightmare would end if she could escape the playground, but the playground never left her. It was in the very core of her being, and it had found her again. The moment hung precariously. What choice remained? Would she yield to the dark? Mommy Emily's voice lowered, whispering through the night, and Sarah knew, deep down, they were waiting for her answer. But she couldn't tell what would happen next. What would she need to sacrifice to save her children from the twisted fate they'd been handed? And could she accept the truth of who they had become? As she stood at the brink, the shadows surged forward, hungry for her answer. Sarah's heart thundered in her chest, a wild drum echoing through the suffocating silence. The shadows rolled toward her, an unholy tide creeping over the grass, merging with the darkness within her. She took a hesitant step back, clutching at her throat, stinging desperation clawing at her breath. Mommy Emily's voice coiled tighter around Sarah, every syllable sticky with anticipation. She could feel the innocence slipping from that voice, melting into something altogether sinister. The other children joined in, their laughter ringing hollow, creating a haunting choir that tugged at Sarah's sanity. What did they want? Did they want her to play? Or was it something worse? "Please, Emily," she cried, trying to dig her nails into a reality that felt unsteady. "You have to listen to me. You're not yourself." The shadows paused, forming a loose circle around her, shivering like a living thing. Emily stepped closer, darkness pooling at her feet. "You don't want us to be together? We're lonely, Mommy. We miss you." For the briefest moment, a flicker of the old Emily shone through. Then the shadows swallowed her. The glimmer was gone, replaced by something dark and hungry. Panic surged through Sarah like wildfire. Their small hands, once so innocent, reached out as if to caress her. But they were stained by the very darkness that enveloped her world. "No," she screamed, recoiling. Each child's grin was a dagger twisting in her gut, promising eternal togetherness in exchange for her very soul. The laughter crescendoed, a mockery of love. "Join us. Accept us," they begged. Terror scorched her veins. Every muscle screamed to run, yet she was rooted to the spot. The ground felt alive, writhing beneath her, trying to drag her under to join the night's embrace. For every ounce of safety, shadows flickered with promises, a promise of no more hurt, no more loneliness, but at a great cost. "Emily," she forced the name through clenched teeth. "You're my little girl. You're not meant for this. You can fight it." In that moment, the twisted landscape shifted. The playground warped around her, swings creaking, laughter turning to screams of phantom children. She could no longer tell where her memories ended and the encroaching darkness began. "Choose." A voice boomed, one that echoed through the swirling chaos. It was Mr. Thompson, his figure growing larger against the backdrop. "Will you join them? Will you become one with the darkness? Or will you turn your back on them?" Her breaths became shorter, gasping droplets of fear. She could either embrace the darkness or watch it consume the only remnants of joy she had left her children. "Sarah," Emily pleaded, leaning closer. "You have to join us. The darkness is our friend. It will always be with you." The shadows surged forward, a living wave ready to envelop her whole. Her mind raced, spiraling into memories of laughter, sweet summer days, faces painted with joy. But all that now felt distant, trapped beneath the weight of grief and fear. "Just say yes." The chorus chimed, voices dripping with beckoning allure. Suddenly, movement caught her eye, a flicker of light in the fragments of shadow. It pulsed, a beacon of hope, flickering against the tide of their darkness. Maybe, she thought frantically, maybe there's a way to save them, but how? What would she have to do? The shadows tightened their grip, forcing her closer to the edge of a decision she didn't understand. The whispers grew louder, almost deafening, drowning out her thoughts, her fears. And while she stood at the heart of this torment, one thing became chillingly clear. Even if she chose, something far darker loomed ahead, just waiting for her answer. As the shadows reached for her, Sarah wondered what lay beyond this moment. Was there any escaping this haunting fate, or any hope left in her heart? "Find us," they whispered, and the tendrils thickened around her, tightening their grip on her very essence. Find us in the dark. What new horror awaited Sarah in the depths of her silence? And could she ever return to the light? The shadows pulsed around Sarah, each thrumming heartbeat echoing her rising dread. Every flicker of their forms felt alive, yearning. "This can't be happening," she whispered, words cracking like dry leaves beneath her trembling voice. She fought to take a step back, but the ground felt sticky, holding her in place, binding her to the nightmarish scene before her. "Mommy, don't be scared." Emily's voice drowned out the laughter, the sinister innocence creeping back in. A chill scraped across Sarah's back as she registered the glint in her daughter's eyes, something predatory swirling within the depths. "Emily, please," she cried, the desperation clawing at her throat. She had to remind her, she had to reach her. "You're stronger than this. Remember when we used to play hide and seek? You were always so brave." For a moment, the air grew tense, still. The shadows around Emily flickered, as if wrestling against a tethering force. A sliver of light cut through the heavy darkness, illuminating something familiar, a memory. "Mom!" Emily exclaimed, eyes wide, her innocent spark bursting forth for just a moment. Then it blinked out like a dying flame. The shadows shrieked, a cacophony of twisted, anguished wails gripping Sarah like a vice. "No, you've made her weak. Join us." The chorus crescendoed, their demand shaking the fragmented ground beneath her feet. Sarah's heart raced, every beat pounding with urgency. "Please," she murmured, the plea escaping her lips. "I won't abandon you, I'll find a way." But as the shadows lunged, she felt the air thickening, pressing in from all sides, an unbearable weight demanding her surrender. Suddenly, the figure of Mr. Thompson loomed larger, casting an enigmatic shadow across the swirling chaos. "You think you can save them?" His voice, rich with malice, sent a shiver down her spine. "You've already lost them. Embrace what they've become, or face eternal solitude." Something crackled within Sarah, igniting a flicker of defiance. "No, I won't give in to this." It burst from her like a raw pulse of adrenaline. She wouldn't let the darkness swallow her whole. Behind that confession, a flicker of hope ignited a wild wish to fight back. She focused on the light, the flickering warmth amidst the cold that threatened to drown her. What if it wasn't just a flicker of hope? What if it was the connection she needed? Summoning her strength, she reached out towards it, desperate to draw closer, to embrace it as she would her children. "Emily," she shouted, as the shadows recoiled momentarily. "You can push this away. You don't belong to them." Another moment stretched painfully but resonated with vulnerability. Emily paused, the darkness swirling its claws as if desperately trying to hold on to her. Fear and longing mingled in her child's expression. "Mommy, don't leave me, join us." "No," Sarah screamed, her voice echoing louder than the wails. "I won't lose you. I choose love." The shadows wriggled violently, as if struck by lightning. The ground roared beneath her feet. A booming laughter erupted around them, furious and mocking, yet somewhere beneath it, a weakness tremored. Sarah felt warmth wrapping around her, the pulse of 1,000 joyous memories flooding her mind. Perhaps there was a way, just enough light left to break the darkness. With every ounce of courage, she reached again, deeper into the light. But as she did, a sinister voice taunted from deeper within the veil of blackness. "You may save one, but at what cost? What will you lose in the process?" The words hammered into her heart, like nails piercing through the fragile hope she clung to. The choice was clearer now, yet more terrifying. Would she sacrifice everything she had left to pull Emily from the shadows? The shadows writhed, no longer a mere threat, but a rising storm of darkness ready to implode. Sarah gritted her teeth. Was it worth it? Could she handle the aftermath of her decision? The ground lurched, and she shoved herself forward. As she reached towards the light, a desperate grasp for rescue, She could only wonder how deep the shadows would sink their claws. Once she made her choice, what awaited her beyond this moment? Would the light reveal salvation, or something far worse? Emily's eyes flickered again, a dance of innocence and something darker. As Sarah reached toward the light, the warmth of love met the chilling touch of despair. It was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. The energy surged through her fingertips, and for a heartbeat, it felt like she could bridge the gap, like she could pull Emily back. Then, the shadows bucked violently, their cries swelling into a maddening chorus. "Join us. Your time is over." The air thickened, swirling with a visceral cacophony that forced Sarah to her knees, gasping for breath. Color drained from her surroundings, leaving her trapped in a black and white nightmare. "Emily," she cried out, desperation clawing at her throat. "Fight them. Fight. Please." A glimmer of recognition shot through her daughter's gaze, but it was fleeting. The shadows wrapped tighter around Emily, binding her like chains, whispering sinister thoughts into her ears. Sarah's heart pounded, thunderous against the silence broken only by Emily's murmured, "Mommy, it feels so good here." "No, you're wrong," Sarah screamed, the shadows shrieking at her defiance. She forced herself to stand, each motion feeling like wading through molasses. The light pulsed with life, vibrant now, almost calling her name. Suddenly, the laughter morphed. It echoed like glass shattering, sharp and invasive through her mind. "You dare challenge us?" Mr. Thompson loomed closer, his figure morphing with the shadows, eyes glinting with malicious delight. "You think love can save you? It's a mere distraction, a weakness." But somewhere amidst the chaos, a quiet voice screamed inside Sarah, urging her to remember, reminding her of every moment they had shared. The laughter, the warmth, the simple bedtime stories that once wrapped them both in comfort. Suddenly, the strength of those memories felt like a blade against the darkness. "You're wrong. I won't let you take her." With a primal roar, she surged forward, reaching deeper into the love she felt. The shadows writhed, recoiling from her intensity, but it felt like a fragile thread threatening to snap at any moment. Still, she pressed on, sensations flooding her body as if every joyous burst of laughter fueled her resolve. But as the shadows shrieked with fury, they collided with a growing storm of blackness, twisting together in a dreadful unity. Faces appeared, grotesque and warped, swirling around her, drawing in every lingering fear and doubt. "You'll join us, Sarah. You'll see." "No," she shouted, resisting their pull. In an act of sheer will, she thrust her heart out, raw and unyielding, trying to pierce the heart of their dark collective. "You can't have us." Yet, Mr. Thompson's voice slithered through the chaos, intimately close, whispering temptations she'd never been able to ignore. What if saving her means losing yourself? What if you'd rather join the forever than face what is to come? A sudden storm of possibilities swirled around them. Visions sparked of Emily's laughter silenced, of joy replaced by grief. Anguish bubbled violently in Sarah's chest. "I'd rather face the world alone than let the darkness take my child." As she screamed, the pulse of light intensified fiercely, but the shadows retaliated, a gale of darkness crashing down around her, each fractured memory ripped from her grasp, raw and flooding back with painful memories. Would the cost be too high? Would love really triumph over this? With blackout tension hanging between breaths, Sarah lunged forward, hands outstretched into the light. But the shadows overwhelmed her, pulling her back down, the world collapsing into obscurity. "Emily," she wailed, losing herself, losing the ground beneath her. Then, a crack rang out, a snap of thunder in the endless night. The light flickered, then vanished, leaving her engulfed in darkness. And in that darkness, a new terror sparked. What had she done? As the echoes of anguish faded, a low laugh filled the void. "Now, let us see what you are truly willing to give up." What awaited her within the consuming dark? Would she still fight, or would the shadows finally win? Sarah's heart raced relentlessly, pounding, hammering inside her chest as she struggled against the unyielding darkness. The shadows clung to her, slick and cold like a million unseen hands, dragging her into their suffocating embrace. Every breath felt like a betrayal, her lungs gasping for air that wouldn't come. "Emily!" she screamed again, the name a desperate prayer that felt futile against the abyss. Please, come back to me. A haunting echo of her voice bounced around, swallowed by the void. Then she heard its soft laughter, lilting and cruel, swirling around her, taunting her. The shadows pulsated like a heartbeat, and with each thump, they pulled tighter, threatening to devour her entirely. In the darkness, flickers of light pulsed sporadically, like dying stars. And within them, images surfaced. Emily's face, wreathed in dim light, her eyes wide with joy during summer days, her laughter a sweet symphony. But those visions twisted into nightmarish reflections, her smile fading into a grimace as the shadows whispered promises of oblivion. Your love cannot save her. The mocking voice of Mr. Thompson slithered through the terror. Love is nothing but weakness, Sarah. You know this. Shut up, she growled, anger and fear surging within her, fueling the last vestiges of her strength. I want to let you take her. I want to let you take me. In a feverish burst, she threw her arms outward, feeling for something, anything that wasn't this darkness. Fingers clawing, she grasped something close, a hint of warmth amid the chill. It felt tangible. A thread, a spark. She grasped it tight, focusing on it, willing it to grow. That spark ignited into flames of memories, bathtub recessions, ice cream drips, long evenings spent reading stories. Emily, she bellowed, roaring into the void, and the shadows hissed, recoiling momentarily. You're still out there. I can feel you. A call. A heartbeat. The darkness faltered, shifting like a disturbed serpent. A chorus of wails filled the air, screeches of anger that reverberated through Sarah's skull. Let her go, let her go. With every ounce of will, she wove her memories into a rope, a lifeline that could bridge the chasm between their worlds. The tug-of-war began a back-and-forth struggle that left her breathless. Darkness fought against her memories, but her heart sang louder than their shrieks. Time slipped away, seconds feeling like hours. A tremor rippled through the shadows, and for a moment, the tormenting faces faded. Mommy? A soft, almost ethereal voice slipped through the cracks. It sent a shock of hope down to Sarah's core. Emily. Yes. I'm here, baby. I'm fighting for you. She strained against the weight of despair closing in, pulling tighter, but something was shifting, breaking apart in the nightmare. But just as she envisioned a pathway opening, Mr. Thompson's voice pierced the air, cutting through like glass. Do you really think you can just waltz in and take her? The darkness swelled ominously, a storm about to break. Are you ready to pay the price? Suddenly, she felt at the warmth of the light they shared flickering, almost extinguishing. No, she cried, panic threatening to spiral out. I will not lose you. I will not. But the flicker dimmed further, the shadows twisting, laughter resounding loudly, as if mocking her pain. What will you sacrifice, Sarah? What will it take for you to have her back? Then a chilling realization pierced her mind. Would she be forced to choose? Would the darkness leverage her deepest fear, her very identity against her? Emily, don't listen to them. She felt the light fade again, just out of reach. Silence fell, heavy and thick, as the shadows gathered to an apex. Confronted now with her breaking point, Sarah had an agonizing choice to make. What would it be? As her world spun, each heartbeat echoing in her ears, she found herself teetering on the brink of surrender when suddenly, the air split with a blinding flash. A jarring scream pierced the void, leaving only a sliver of light behind. What had she unleashed, and was it too late to stop it? The light surged violently through the darkness, a beacon of desperation piercing the inky void. Sarah could feel it warming her, pushing back against the shadows and forcing her to confront the truth that lurked just beyond reach. She swallowed hard, the bitterness of fear still thick in her throat, but the warmth beckoned her forward. Emily, she shouted, the name bursting forth with the vitality of a mother's love, igniting the fading spark of her daughter's essence. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in disbelief as the light pushed forth, fighting against their suffocating grip. Sarah pushed herself towards the brightness, heart racing with the hope that she could bridge the gap, reclaim what they had taken. I'm coming for you. Emily, I want to let them keep you. As she moved, the ground trembled, the darkness swirling angrily around her legs, but she steadied herself, holding onto the light, guiding herself like a ship seeking harbor. Let her go? You have no power over us. Her words cut through the shadows like a knife. Even as they howled in protest, suddenly, a figure became distinct in the chaos. Emily, wreathed in shadow, her small body tethered too closely to the darkness. Mommy, the voice chimed, sweet yet sorrowful, stretching out towards her, the depths of longing mingling with despair. Hold on, Sarah cried, stretching her arms wide as she sensed the boundaries of their connection expanding. Every joyful memory surged through her, each shared giggle, each whispered secret under the covers, each fallen tear in moments of pain and worry. The brightness pulsed with every heartbeat, merging their souls together. Fight, Emily. You can break free from this. We have to remember who we truly are. The shadows hissed, swirling tighter, trying to snuff out the light as they lunged towards Sarah. You will never take her. She roared again. For a moment, the shadows faltered. It was then that the glimmer in Emily's eyes sparked brightly, illuminating her face with the warmth of all they had shared. Mommy, I can feel you, she echoed, her small form vibrating with strength as she stepped forward, defiance blossoming amidst despair. But darkness surged one last time, its voice a guttural growl. You think love can conquer all? You are weak. You will fall into the shadows with us. Sarah felt the tug of fear clawing at her insides, threatening to drag her down. But no, this was her moment. She wouldn't let fear dictate her fate. No, love is strength, and I believe in us. Her voice rang out, clear and unwavering, vibrating with the raw emotion that shook the very core of the nightmare. In response, the lights surged, expanding fiercely and chasing away the encroaching darkness. She focused on the connection, her mind racing with memories, determination fueling her as she called out to her daughter. Emily, remember the fort we built? The stories we told in the dark? The dreams we shared? The shadows shrieked, twisting violently, but Emily stepped closer, her laughter breaking free from the shadows. Mommy, I remember. Her voice grew stronger, fighting against the encroaching despair. The light intensified again, pulsing in rhythm with the love they shared, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. In that moment, the darkness started to dissolve, peeling back layer by layer, revealing the memories festooned in brightness. Laughter, play, dreams, all begun anew, infusing their bond with vibrancy. Together, Emily shouted through the chaos, her voice unabashedly defiant. With a final surge of strength, Sarah reached out, their hands globalizing the remaining shadows that loomed just beyond reach. Together, the words tumbled from her lips in a triumphant declaration, threading through the shadows like a silver thread, knitting their hearts together, intertwining against the onslaught of darkness. The shadows snarled, trying to reclaim what they had lost. The light engulfed them, overwhelming the darkness completely. Goodbye, Sarah shouted, feeling all the weight lift off her shoulders. We choose love. With one last pulse, the shadows burst apart, dissolving into flickers of nothingness as the air filled with the symphony of laughter that had been stifled for too long. Instantly, everything around them brightened, enveloping Sarah and Emily in warmth. The world opening up with familiar beauty, a playground generously filled with laughter, innocence flooding back into existence. Tears streamed down Sarah's face, her heart soaring with love. Emily stood beside her, small and hugging her tightly, yet radiant with the spark of independence. I missed you, Mommy, her child whispered, a joyful clarity washing over her face. I missed you too, sweetheart. Sarah's voice broke, but it was filled with a joyful relief as she drew in a long breath, finally free from the nightmares they had endured. In that shared moment, every fear transformed into a fragile, beautiful reflection of hope. As the echoes of the darkness faded into the ether, Sarah took her daughter's hand, entwining their fingers together. We'll face whatever comes next, she promised, her heart steady with resolve. With one last glance at the fading shadows, Sarah led Emily away, embarking on a journey of healing and rediscovery, embracing the simple joys of life. Maplewood Estates was illuminated now with the promise of new beginnings, and as they walked into the light, they carried with them a bond as fierce as they were determined. This was not just a goodbye to a haunting past. It was a stepping stone to newfound freedom, hope, and unbreakable love. Don't wait even one more second. You need to subscribe now to catch the next thrilling chapter of these exclusive stories. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and keep this community growing. Flood the comments with your reactions, every theory, and every emotion you felt through this intense ride. And remember, share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely must see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Let's continue to tell these stories together.